My husband, Camille, apologized to me in such a Filipino manner, saying he got his mistress pregnant and that we needed to break up. I was dumbfounded, and my affection for him had run out 6 months ago. Is the mistress someone I know? I asked. Yeah, it's Kira. Remember meeting her again at Alice's wedding reception. Since then, my husband seemed completely unashamed. Alice's wedding was the year before last. So you've been cheating for over a year? I asked. Alice was a college classmate, and Kira was a junior, 2 years behind me. She was in the same research group as Alice, and we played tennis together in college, so I remembered her well. She was nicknamed Little Devil behind her back and was quite famous in a way. Huh, is that so? Time flies when we get older. My husband just laughed it off. What on earth was he thinking? I couldn't understand him at all. I'm Viola, 30 years old. I met my husband in the college tennis club, despite him being 5 years older at 35. He often showed up as an alumnus who loved happy hours, had lots of friends, and was friendly with everyone. He took great care of freshmen and was kind. But I later realized that kindness was limited to girls. After we started dating, I cried many times due to his cheating habits. But I loved him and married him right after graduation. However, once I started working, I got to know the real him, or rather, his useless side. He frequently appeared in the tennis club's clubhouse, acting all high and mighty with the juniors because he was completely ignored by his peers. The truth was, he was so incompetent at his job that he wasn't given any serious responsibilities. Even now, there's no prospect of a raise or promotion. He's just a pretentious good-for-nothing who can't do his job or household chores. I tried various things to change him after we got married, but his refusal to change made me give up. The reason I had to divorce him wasn't just that work was busy, and it was a hassle, but also because his parents were good people, a reason that had nothing to do with my husband himself. So look, we need to split up quickly because of the baby coming. You can have this apartment, and I'll leave. That's the end of it, okay? I was taken aback by his careless words and my husband's sly grin. What? No way. Let's part ways cleanly. This is not a good opportunity. As I neared my 40s, I started wanting a child. I had graduated college and started working as a full-time employee. I found myself in a situation where I was earning more than my husband, and my company offered excellent parental and maternity leave benefits. I was ready to start a family, but despite our efforts, it just wasn't happening, and it broke my heart. The love I once felt for my husband had dwindled away, especially after discovering his affair and the news that he got the other woman pregnant. I was determined to cleanly and completely end the relationship. What infuriated me even more was his lack of remorse. Instead of apologizing, he simply voiced his needs and demands. It was evident that it was time to put an end to this unpleasant relationship that had dragged on for years. We would involve a lawyer, ask for compensation, and divide our property. And of course, we would expect something from Kira as well. However, when I voiced my concerns about the financial aspect, my husband callously suggested that I take on the debt myself since it was his affair that caused the separation. When I glared at him, he relented, admitting that he might need his father's help to cover the expenses. I proceeded with the divorce proceedings and hired a lawyer. Despite multiple calls from my in-laws, pleading with me to reconsider, I remained steadfast in my decision. Even my father-in-law broke down in tears, acknowledging that if I left, it would spell the end for him. My mother-in-law begged me to reconsider, expressing her love for me like her own daughter. But even they understood once I laid bare the truth about my husband's constant infidelity and laziness. Finally, they apologized profusely, hanging their heads in shame. They even paid the compensation on behalf of my husband, who had no savings of his own. They made him promise never to ask for their help again and to repay them promptly. I still can't fathom how such a careless and irresponsible man could come from parents as decent and responsible as his. I decided to retreat to my parents' house. The divorce proceedings, which I had anticipated as a hassle, wrapped up faster than I expected. Returning to my recently relocated family home, 6 months flew by. I found myself consumed by work on weekdays and occupied with household chores on weekends, leaving little room to dwell on my ex-husband. Then out of the blue, my best friend Alice called, seething with anger. "Viola, did you know your ex-husband Camille and Kira? They're living it up in a new high-rise apartment, flaunting their wealth everywhere. Kira even had the audacity to invite me to her baby shower party. The presents alone cost over $100, and there's a $100 participation fee. It's outrageous, isn't it?" she exclaimed. I was taken aback by the news. I hadn't realized that Kara had given birth, let alone why she would reach out to Alice. Both my ex-husband and Kira were well aware that Alice was my best friend. Why would Kara even extend an invitation to her, knowing Alice would undoubtedly relay everything to me? When I tentatively mentioned this to Alice, her anger escalated even further. She did it deliberately, Viola. Deliberately. That awful woman had the nerve to tell me she's so happy now, thanks to you breaking up with Camille. Can you believe her audacity? She's the worst kind of person. I want to put her in her place somehow. Alice raged. That nickname from our college days resurfaced in my mind, Little Devil. Clara was always known for stirring up trouble among seemingly happy couples. Even when relationships were strained because of her involvement, she remained composed, wearing a facade of innocence. If a couple splits up just because someone else shows interest, it wasn't true love to begin with, right? They would have broken up eventually anyway, so what's the harm? She'd say, her words dripping with sugary sweetness, all the while smirking knowingly. I felt a pang of pity for Kira, realizing she might never have experienced genuine love. Despite this, I knew better than to involve myself with her, so I made the conscious decision to keep my distance, at least for the time being. Kira didn't matter much to me. There was something else that demanded my attention. Alice, there's only one newly constructed high-rise apartment building, right? Have you heard anything about them moving in? I asked, seeking any information she might have. I've never met them, Alice quickly replied, but apparently it was very recent. They'd been boasting about securing a spa. Fortunately, someone who had bought one of the units had to relocate for work and put it back on the market without moving in. Ah, makes sense, I nodded, processing the information. So your moving day is Sunday, right? The baby shower party is on Saturday. You'll only need to be cautious for one day. There are multiple elevators, and they might use different entrances. You're right. We haven't crossed paths so far, so it should be fine, Alice concurred. We live together, but unexpected situations can still arise. As fate would have it, an unexpected situation did indeed unfold. On Saturday, while waiting for the elevator on the first floor, I found myself face to face with my ex-husband and Kira as they stepped out of the elevator. "Hey, Viola, what are you doing here?" My ex-husband spoke first, with Kara chiming in. "Viola, are you here to celebrate with us? You must be eager to see our adorable baby, aren't you?" Kara's voice was cheerful, her smile radiant, but her eyes betrayed a different story. They held no hint of amusement. "What? Seriously? Did you come to crash the party without an invitation?" My ex-husband interjected, his tone incredulous. To scope out the high-rise apartment or catch a glimpse of our little prince. The casual reference to the baby as both baby and prince grated on my nerves. That's not it, I retorted coolly. I was just waiting for the elevator. I responded, consciously switching to a polite tone. Midway through the conversation, Camille, now my ex, was essentially a stranger, and I didn't want to create a scene. "Ha, so you're planning to visit my house after all," Camille remarked with a hint of amusement. "You're so silly, Viola. Stop being stubborn. Perhaps you're just envious of our luxurious high-rise apartment and our adorable little prince. Do you still harbor feelings for me? Are you feeling lonely and longing to see me again?" "Camille, that's not acceptable," I interjected firmly. "Regardless of any lingering emotions you think I may have, you're now married to Kira. It's inappropriate for me to barge into your home uninvited. Ask for jealousy, Kira, you're mistaken, but I appreciate your concern," Camille continued, dismissing my words. "Sorry, Viola, but Kira and her son are our top priorities now. You're not." As I listened to their conversation, I couldn't help but feel perplexed. It had been 6 months since I last saw my ex-husband, and yet his mindset remained as irrational as ever. Kira's attitude was equally baffling. It dawned on me that my cheating ex-husband and his new partner were a perfect match in their own peculiar way. Reflecting on it, I regretted wasting my precious 20s on Camille. I'm utterly ashamed of my past with him and wish to bury those memories deep in darkness. If only I had ended things sooner, without making excuses, I wouldn't have to endure this nonsense from my ex-husband and his partner, I thought. My words seemed to strike a nerve with Camille, who retorted, "What's that? You're really lacking charm. Learn from Kira. Even her jealousy is endearing. She's just given birth, yet she still takes the effort to look stylish for me. Don't you find her admirable?" "Not at all," I replied calmly. "I was simply going to the grocery store. I'm dressed in a plain white t-shirt and jeans, clean and presentable." "That's the problem," Camille snapped. "I grew tired of your simplicity." "Enough already. We have nothing to do with each other. Just go home." Annoyed by his dismissive tone, I retorted, "Actually, this is my home." Seeing their disbelief, I had to explain. "I've been living with my parents in this high-rise apartment for 6 months now. My father was approached by salespeople when talks of selling the land he owns arose. They suggested that living in a high-rise would be more convenient, especially as he's getting older. While it's not entirely our land, we received a substantial sum from selling it during negotiations. We were able to move into one of the higher floors for much less than market value." Camille was taken aback. "You're landowners with that much money." "If I had known, I wouldn't have agreed to the divorce. Give me back the compensation money. There's no need for a property settlement." I replied firmly, "The compensation was a result of your affair, and the property settlement was a matter between us as a married couple." As I spoke, I noticed Kira mumbling to herself. Her silence spoke volumes. "I can't believe Viola is living in a high-rise," she thought. "I thought I had totally won." Kara exclaimed, shooting me a glare. "But Viola, you don't have a baby or a loving partner, do you?" "I haven't lost yet." "Look, Kira, I was never competing with you," I replied calmly. "In fact, I'm thankful to you for giving me the opportunity to break up with Camille. Oh, and I'm moving out of my house tomorrow, so I don't think we'll see each other again." "What? Why?" "You just moved into a high-rise," they both exclaimed in surprise. I shrugged, explaining maybe it's a matter of different values. It just wasn't a good fit for my family. I found living in a high-rise unsuitable for hanging laundry outside. There are no balconies on the higher floors for safety, and only some windows can be opened. It wasn't suitable for my mother and me, who preferred drying laundry in natural sunlight and wind without using a dryer. Plus, the intense sunlight made it too hot, even with the air conditioning on. The building also shakes quite a bit during even a magnitude 3 earthquake. It's designed this way to prevent collapse, and the higher floors shake more. It was terrifying. Most stressful of all was the daily elevator ride. It gets crowded during the morning commute and takes time since it stops on each floor. The advertised 3-minute walk from the station felt much longer in the elevator. We were too bothered by the drawbacks unique to high-rise living, so we decided to move to a regular house with a garden after all. Luckily, our apartment sold quickly at almost the same price we bought it for. As I finished explaining, both my ex-husband and Kira grinned. "Of course, we'll never see each other again," Camille added. "So a high-rise wasn't suitable for commoners like you." "It's more suited for an elite celebrity family like mine," Kyra remarked sarcastically. I couldn't comprehend how they had arrived at that conclusion, but one thing became abundantly clear. What I grew to despise, and ultimately gave up on, was that facet of you: pretentiousness without substance, and an unwillingness to change or exert any effort. I reached my breaking point with you, but it's all right now. You're beyond repair, so goodbye." I repeated, echoing my ex-husband's own words back to him. Stepping into the just-arrived elevator, I glanced at Kira, who was glaring at both my astonished ex-husband and me. Right before the doors closed, I added one final remark. "By the way, are you sure the child is truly yours?" My ex-husband looked utterly perplexed, prompting me to clarify. "I mean exactly what I said. Right, Kyra? You understand what I'm implying, don't you?" As the doors closed, I didn't know what transpired next. In reality, however, during our struggle to conceive, I underwent tests of the gynecologist, which revealed no issues on my end. I had begun to suspect the problem might lie with my husband, but he had vehemently refused to get tested. Hence, I delivered that incendiary parting shot. Later, I heard from a mutual friend who attended Kira's baby shower. Despite boasting about their high-rise lifestyle, my ex-husband and Kira were residing on the 3rd floor. Additionally, despite their extravagant demands for gifts and participation fees, only cheap snacks from the grocery store were served. When a friend voiced a soft complaint, Kyra reportedly exploded, demanding gratitude for the chance to see her baby up close and insisting on payment. This sparked a heated argument between my ex-husband and Kira, leaving their gathering in disarray. Thanks in part to my earlier cryptic remark, it was revealed that my ex-husband and Kira had moved into a high-rise but were struggling financially, attempting to swindle money from their friends through fabricated reasons. Their deceit caused outrage among their friends, who promptly left. Meanwhile, my family and I settled into a single-family home with a garden, where I recently welcomed an adorable kitten. Our former high-rise was a broken controversy due to significant defects and illegal construction methods, making it unsellable. Reflecting on our situation, we realized we were unexpectedly fortunate. Now I find solace in my severed ties with my ex-husband and cherish the tranquility of my peaceful days. As I hang the laundry on a sunny afternoon, my kitten sometimes curls up on the clothes, its adorable sleeping face bringing me a sense of contentment. Today, like many others, was a good day.